Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever and whenever you are. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to part 11 to our Ninja Platformer tutorial series. In this video, we're going to finish implementing our hitbox and hurtboxes so that the player can damage or destroy the enemy cannon. This series is made possible by the students who support me by purchasing my Godot courses. You can check out a link in the description. There'll be a link in the description if you're interested in those. Let's get started. We're going to come into our player, and what we need to do here is add a hitbox to the player. And we need this hitbox to be on the anchor so that it also rotates whenever the player flips back and forth. We're going to click on our anchor here. We're going to attach our hitbox. And we're not going to put, well, we're going to give it a collision polygon as a child. And this is where things get a little bit interesting because we're going to have to animate this hitbox. So let's come into our animation upper and go into the attack animation and zoom in. There's not a lot of animation frames here, but we should be able to do it. We'll click on our collision polygon, and we can add points right here. We'll add some points. You get an approximation of this attack right here. And it doesn't have to be exact, so don't be too worried about making sure that it's perfect. You can make adjustments afterward as well if you want to move these points around or delete a point, for example. I'm pretty happy with that. Move that point there, this point here, something like that. Now what we need to do is key the polygon over here. So we still have our animation open. We have all our points here. We're on this very first frame of the animation, and we can press this key to key those points. Now we want to turn on snap here. And at this point, we don't want all those points, so we're going to click this little plus again. Remember, we're on this frame now. We'll click this little plus, and we'll just add a couple points here. Just to show we can key that. And then here at the end, I'm probably just going to clear these points and then key an empty one. There won't be a hitbox here. Now we can see this here, but we have a problem. And I'm going to show you this problem here by turning off snap. See that? When I turn off snap, look what happens to the, as I go through the timeline, do you see the points trying to shift? That would be bad. We're going to get error messages as our points are kind of converging on a single point, and it doesn't look good. So the way to avoid this is down here in our animation player, there are some different properties for how the animation is interpolated. You can see for our sprite, it just instantly switches from this one to this one, right? For the sprite in the animation. That's because for the update mode, it's using discrete instead of continuous. That just means that instead of trying to continuously create in between frames, it's just going, here's this frame, and then here's this frame. Down here, our polygon is set up to be continuous. Now, if we switch it to discrete, it will then do the same thing that the animation does, which is that it will just be this frame and then immediately switch to this frame. And that's what we want our hitbox to do. Okay? Now, the last thing we need to do is come into our reset, because our reset track is the default track that Godot switches to whenever whenever it needs to reset the animation back to some base state. And in this case, we actually don't want all these points. So we can click on our collision polygon, we can clear this, and we can key it as empty. And now our reset track has an empty polygon there as well. Okay, so attacking is working here. So we have our attack animation, and if we go into project, or if we go to debug and we turn on visible collision shapes, when we run our game, we can actually see, although our reset track is a little bit angry, it says there's some sort of an error message we're getting here. I'll have to check that out in a second. So here we go. You can actually see briefly the collision shape of our attack animation. That is working. We get an error though when we collide with our enemy cannon. And the reason we get this error is because it's colliding with both our enemy hurtbox and our enemy hitbox. For now, let's actually just delete the hitbox. That way we don't have to worry about that error. Now if we come back, do it again, we no longer get the error when we attack the cannon. We're still getting that warning message. Not very happy with us about the reset track. So let's go back to our player. And in here, well, actually in our enemy, we're going to give our enemy a script. And in here, we'll attach this script. We can get access to our hurtbox like this. Just click, drag, hold control, drop, get access to the hurtbox. And through access to the hurtbox, we have access to its signals. We'll say hurtbox.hurt.connect. We'll just connect to an anonymous function here. And the signal is going to take a hitbox, right? Hurt will signal a hitbox. So we'll say other hitbox of type hitbox. And then here we can just say print we got hit. That's all we'll have on our enemy for now. We can easily write some logic to do something whenever we get hit. And you can see every time we hit the enemy, it prints we got hit. Just exactly like we'd expect it to. Instead of doing we got hit though, let's do Q free and just destroy the enemy. Here we go. Now, go up to the enemy, attack it, and it gets destroyed. We'll turn off our visible collision shapes. And I wish I could have the output not pop up by default. There might be a way to do that, but I don't know how. There is. Okay, we can run around in this world. And we can destroy the enemy cannon. So let's talk about that error message we got, right? When our hurtbox collided with another area. The player hitbox. Let's go back into our enemy and we'll add a new hitbox to it. This. And then we'll duplicate our collision polygon and drag it down here. There we go. Or rename it too. Now we have that hitbox again, and we're going to get the error message again, right? In fact, we don't get an error message because the enemy is actually destroying itself. Its own hitbox is colliding with its own hurtbox and destroying itself. So how can we solve this problem? We can solve this problem using collision layers. So collision layers are a way to limit what things collide with other things. And in this case, we're going to go into our project settings and we're going to go down to layer names, and there's a place called 2D physics. And here we can actually create some names for the different layers. We're going to create a layer here called world. We'll create a layer 2. We'll name the layer 2 player. Name layer 3 enemy. Name layer 4 player. I'm gonna do lowercase. We'll do layer 4 player hurtbox. Layer 5 enemy hurtbox. Okay. These are common layers that I set up in my projects. Really, the only important ones for us right now are going to be these two, player hurtbox and enemy hurtbox. And I'll show you why. If we go into our enemy cannon, let's solve the problem of the enemy's hitbox destroying its own hurtbox. If we click on the hitbox for our enemy here, and we go over to collision, you can see there are collision layers and collision masks. Now, I like to think about these in terms of layer as being the collision layer that it exists on, and mask as being the collision layer that it is looking at. And so because this is a hitbox, I don't want it to exist on any layers. It doesn't need to exist on a layer because it's not being hit by anything. But we want it to look to a certain mask. And the mask we want it to look to is player hurtbox. I'm going to remove it from world, which is the default one. And I'm going to select player hurtbox, which is 4. And that's just like how we set it up in the project settings. 4 is player hurtbox. We get a little tooltip here showing player hurtbox. This hitbox will only ever collide with an area 2D that exists on layer 4 because it is looking to layer 4. Its mask is looking to 4. Okay? Player hurtbox. Now if we come to the enemy's hurtbox and come into collision, I'm going to turn both of these off. Now what's important with the hurtbox is that this hurtbox exists on a layer. It's not looking to any layer. It just exists. It's kind of passive. It's like layer is passive and mask is aggressive. So we'll put this on layer 5 because it will be on the enemy hurtbox layer. Okay? So now the hitbox for our enemy is targeting the player's hurtbox, and the hurtbox for our enemy is on the enemy's hurtbox. So they'll no longer collide with each other. They're not going to see each other anymore. The enemy doesn't die. But now our player's hitbox isn't correctly targeting the hurtbox of our enemy. So if we come back into our player and click on the hitbox and go to collisions, the hitbox isn't going to be on any layer because it's not passive, it's active. But it needs to target the correct mask. It shouldn't target world. What mask do we want our player's hitbox to target? We want it to target enemy hurtbox. That's what we want it to target. And now we go back. Now our enemy no longer kills itself with its own hitbox, and our player can now target the enemy by hitting it. We can also give our player a hurtbox. So let's set up a hurtbox. We can put it on anchor, that's fine. Do a hurtbox here. We'll give it a collision shape. I'm just going to do a square shape for our player, and I'm going to do a rectangle. Oops. Here we go. Wow, it just really wants to select the player. Oh yeah, that's because this is selected. Children are not selectable. I'll uncheck that for a second. Move our hurtbox up. Shrink it down. I'm going to give the player a little bit of leeway here. These are going to be the exact numbers I have. So position is -11 and the size is going to be 8 and 18. You want to set yours up exactly the same. Then I'm going to click on hurtbox. I'm going to go into collision. I'm going to remove the mask. And I'm going to put the layer as player hurtbox. So our player's hurtbox will be on player hurtbox. We'll come into our script. We can drag down the hurt box, hold control, drop it. Inside of our ready function, we can say hurtbox hurt.connect function other hitbox. And then we can have the player do something. We destroy the player too, queue free. That seems a little excessive. Okay, here we go. Now if the player touches the hurt box of our enemy, they get destroyed. If we run the game again and the player managed to attack the enemy, then they're fine. There you go. We've set up basic hurt boxes and hit boxes. Of course, right now we're just destroying them. In the next few lectures, we're going to be doing more, like shaking the enemy, putting the player into a hurt state, flashing different colors, showing particle effects. All of these different things can help sell the contact between the hurt box and the hit box. And that's what we're going to be focusing on in the next few videos. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like it, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. If you're interested in my courses, there will be a link in the description and at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.